Good evening, everyone. I have 7 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Jeff Elshoff. Here. Dr. Joel Schroeder.
Here.
Mr. Justin Smith.
Here.
Mr. John Welch.
Present.
Miss Diane Wynn. Here. And you have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. This evening, we have John Barquette, a Bel Aire resident and retired pastor who is here to lead us in prayer.
Before I pray, many of you may not be aware that fourth person with the Capitol Police committed suicide today, and so that shall be remembered. Let us pray. O God, who walks with those who mourn, comfort the grieving. We remember the fourth of our Capitol Hill guards who has taken his life. We remember all who have died and suffered protecting our lawmakers and our nation's home. Grant them comfort and healing following this national travesty and evil of the attempted takeover. Walk with their families and surround them with those who can help them with words of comfort and peace. Grant us all the ability to confront the evil of those who would violently overthrow this nation. O God of mercy and compassion, we gather together today to do the work you have entrusted to our civil servants. Work to leading and care for the people who live in this city. Guide us this day that our decisions will provide for the common good of all of our residents. May the decisions made today reflect that of being just towards all people. Guide us to be peacemakers in this nation of conflicted views and divisions. Let us be purveyors of the truth and not fall prey to false information that serves only to divide and still not protect the weak and sick. Be with those who protect our fair city, our law enforcement officers, our EMTs, and our firefighters. Protect them through the dangerous situations. Give them the ability to think wisely and quickly for when they confront the dangerous situations that are set before them. May our work and decisions make a wise use of the resources of people, land, and money granted to this city. For what we have are gifts from above. And watch over all who live here, that we may serve you well to the end of our days. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So next item on the agenda is to determine agenda additions. Are there any agenda additions to consider? Hearing none, I'll move on to consent agenda. It only contains the minutes of the July 6th council meeting. In an effort to streamline our regular city council meetings, I've asked our city manager to add items to future consent agendas that do not need discussion or are typical action items. Mr. Lasher is working on a set of guidelines he will be sharing with council soon. Any items on the consent agenda can easily be removed to allow for individual discussion. So, is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'll motion to approve the consent agenda as listed and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
A motion by Dr. Schroeder and a second by Mr. Smith. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Welch.
I believe this is a good idea to do this, to put things in here, but I also think we ought to itemize what's actually in the consent agenda. So we should have written that the only thing tonight was the minutes. And next
Yes.
time we can have the other things in there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the intent.
Well, we missed it tonight.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Smith.
in future agendas, like where we have item A tonight, minutes of the July 2021 council meeting, we would have item B for whatever the second thing is and item C for whatever the third thing is. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And then in my manager's report, I'll discuss those individually so that you'll have those. And then as the mayor said, at the meeting, if you have a concern, you can just pull them off at that time.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, I was thinking about doing it the other way, that we just list the consent agenda, and I guess I'm getting screwed up by the numeric system, how we're itemizing it out. because I did see that item A is the council meeting is all that's on there. I was thinking it was the consent agenda and we should have, okay, my misunderstanding. I
Okay,
didn't read
that's
it close
fine.
enough.
We'll learn as we work through it. Okay?
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. So I have a motion on the table. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 7A, consideration of appropriations ordinance 2114. This payment period includes a second payment for slurry seal in the amount of $39,000, as well as $377,000 in Chapel Landing third improvements.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Smith,
I'll make a motion to approve appropriations ordinance 21-14.
I'll second.
a motion by Mr. Smith and a second by Dr. Schroeder. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. We have no city requested appearances for this evening. So do we have any citizens' concerns? Hearing none, we'll move on to reports. So Ms. Nguyen, would you like to start with council member reports?
Council, you are getting short shrift in my life now. Unfortunately, my son being spending much more time with that, so not spending too much time on Bel Aire.
We'll keep him and you in our prayers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Welch.
No report.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On July 22nd, we had the CCUA meeting. There were only a couple of agenda items at the CCUA meeting, including receiving RFPs for the biosolids that are, the byproduct of the waste treatment. We currently have a hauler that collects those biosolids and then takes and distributes them to farmland that they own. And so it's time to renew that. And we have started considering proposals for those biosolid disposals. We did select a partner to move forward in negotiations with. The other item on the agenda was receiving and discussing the letter that our city manager, Mr. Lasher, had sent to the CCUA on behalf of the city of Bel Aire. We spent quite a bit of time discussing those bullet points and ultimately asked the TAC to the Technical Advisory Committee to dig into some of those items and come back to the broader commission with recommendations. The other thing, or two other things, I guess. One is, as I was driving around the city over the last couple of weeks, I did see a couple of cases where citizens are utilizing electric scooters to get around the city. That's common in several cities around here. And I think this issue came up a couple years ago, and we weren't sure that we were going to see any electric scooter utilization here in Bel Aire, and I'm starting to see some. And so I'm wondering if it's time to make that a topic in one of our workshops to discuss the potential of updates to our ordinances or codes to either allow for that or, be more explicit in communicating that I think currently it's not allowed because we haven't taken any action to allow it like other cities have. Our city attorney probably has better details there, but I did want to bring that up because I've seen it a couple of times now, and it may be time for that to be something that's back on our radar. And finally, I was excited to get the opportunity to dine at our new restaurant here in Bel Aire, the Los Canados, and it was a fantastic experience. I'd encourage everyone to get out and check that out. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Elsoff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a formal report, but just on a personal note, I just wanted to let you know I returned from 2 weeks of vacation, traveling on the road through Missouri, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Michigan to visit family. So we had a wonderful vacation through the cornfields and the pine trees of this land. And it was just really great to travel on the highways and byways and roads and see this beautiful country and return home safely. We had a good vacation with my family. And also, I just wanted to mention, yesterday, I had my 1-year checkup with my liver doctor about my liver transplant, and everything is going very well. I don't have any complications or anything. So I thank God for that. I just wanted to mention that.
Good.
So I thought people would like to know that, but that's all I have.
That's a great milestone. Thank you for sharing that. Dr. Schroeder.
Just to echo Councilman Smith's sentiments, I also ate at the new restaurant with my wife and enjoyed it and would encourage people to try it. I also went to the CCUA meeting. I'm not on the board or anything, but I just wanted to keep updated as we got things coming down the line in that area. So I just wanted to attend to be able to get more information about what was going on.
Very good. Thank you. I also went to the Los Ganados restaurant and was favorably impressed with the food there. So it's very good. Encourage everybody to go there, and always good to have new businesses come to Bel Aire. So I also attended the CCUA meeting, as Councilmember Smith and Dr. Schroeder mentioned. And the one good thing is it does look like the TAC is now has the agenda item to address the issues in Mr. Lasher's letter. So that's a good thing. My wife and I also attended the Bel Aire Ball on July 30th. It was changed from the father-daughter dance of years past. Lots of father and daughters are still there, but there were families as well. It was a fun event, and with dinner and dancing for several types. Didn't do them all. So I don't. Let's see, the Villas at Press Week had planned their grand opening for July 31st, but they had moved it to September 25th. I was unaware of that date change and apologize to anyone who may have shown up for that event due to not knowing about the change. This Friday, August 6th, the K254 Corridor Development Association will hold a meeting in Ccua City Hall at 11:30. It is planned that we will hear from Wilson and Company on the safety assessment and thoughts for improvement of the K254. So that should be an interesting discussion. And then lastly, on the COVID, KDHE is now reporting 48.7% vaccinated Kansans, which is a 4% increase from 2 weeks ago, which is a great improvement over what's been going. Sedgwick County now reports positive cases of 11.1 or 8.11% as of yesterday. That's the highest it's been since January 21st. So that uptick has started on June 15th and is still climbing. So we still need to be vigilant with frequent hand washing, covering sneezes, and other practices to reduce the spread of germs. So with that, I'll ask our city attorney for her report.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. I do not have a report at this time. I will do some research on the latest scooter issues. Typically, cities get a vendor who wants to bring scooters to town and park them in communities, generally the electric scooters, and that's what triggers a lot of the scooter regulation laws. But we can look at that preemptively.
Thank you. Mr. Lasher.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, first I want to start out by apologizing to our citizens. They're going to be experiencing a lot of delays and road work that's happening. So it's exciting that the road work is happening. I've got a map here that you'll see starting basically next week through the 1st of September. A lot of roads happening. There'll be Woodlawn will be closed for a short time. And then after that, Woodlawn construction will probably be starting full swing in October, November. So, but I think all of the slurry seal is done. So that was all in the neighborhoods, and I'm sure a lot of people experienced some of those headaches about all the new oil and things. But the goal is again to preserve what's happening. Or to preserve the streets. What's on the screen right now is some of the patchwork and crack repair that's going to be happening. So the goal, or to date, the plans are, and of course this may vary based on crews availability and weather, but starting August 9th, the plan is for Rock Road from 45th to 254 to be worked on. And then on August 16th, they'll jump over to Oliver and go from 45th to 53rd. And then on August 23rd, the goal would be to go south Oliver from 45th to 37th Street. And then on August 30th, to do Woodlawn north from 45th to 53rd. And then September 7th to do 45th Street between Woodlawn and Rock. So, and then of course, starting on October 9th, the plan is for Woodlawn to be closed between Danbury and Perrington for a max of 30 days, and that is for utility relocates. They've got to actually run some water lines across the road. They were hoping they could do it underground or through, I don't know what they call that, where they run the lines under the ground without boring. Yes, thank you, Mayor. But they're going to have to actually open cut those. The max is 30 days. We're hoping that it will be done quicker. And of course, it will depend on how many crews they can get out there and no weather delays and such. So our hope is within 2 weeks it'll be done, but we're planning 30 days, or that's what they've gave us, the maximum of 30 days. So anyway, a lot of stuff happenings. We've got there's already message boards out telling people about the delays. We'll message them about detours and things as different roads are getting done. They'll have different opportunities to take when Woodlawn's closed to go over to Rock or Oliver. But anyway, like I said, it's a great thing that we're finally able to spend the money that we're spending and fix some of these roads up. But unfortunately, it kind of causes a headache because of traffic and everybody getting to and from work and home and things like that. So I apologize in advance, and hopefully the roads will be a little easier to ride on. The other thing that's happening here at City Hall is they did some patchwork on the parking lot, and then they'll be resurfacing that next weekend, so the 7th and 8th. And the only reason I'd want citizens to know is our drop-off box will be closed because they won't be able to get in and out of the parking lot. But they're doing it over the weekend, so it shouldn't affect anybody. Central Park pool closes on August 8th, so that's next weekend. I know it's early, and we always get questioned about, can we stay open later? And the two biggest issues we have is that school starts, so our patronage goes way down because the kids are going back to school. The other issue is on the lifeguard side. So all of our lifeguards attend school, and so they have to get back to sports and schools, and so they don't have the ability to come in and work. We've tried it in the past, and you get to the point where the costs are more than the benefits of keeping it open. And so, again, that's why it's closing on the 8th. All of our workers are going back to school. So with that means that on August 9th, which is Monday, the Hot Dogs Pool Party, we're having that this year. So you remember we didn't have it last year. Before we actually start draining the water, we let the dogs come in and have fun. There'll be 2 sessions this year. I think one's from like 6 to 7, and the other one's 7 to 8. The idea is one, it limits the amount of people that are in there. And then I think they're trying to have the smaller dogs first and the bigger dogs second. So anyway, that'll be fun if anybody wants to get their dogs out and enjoy some of the pool. And the last thing to mention is National Night Out is here at City Hall. It's August 14th, which is a Saturday. Typically it's on a Tuesday, but we run into issues being after work and people getting there, so they wanted to move it to Saturday so people could enjoy it. So I think that's all I had on my list, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the report on the roads. That helps us understand what we're doing. They're very good. Thank you. Moving on to item 11. Is that right? Yeah, item 11A, revising our speculativity policy. So the Greater Wichita Partnership identified a few years ago a need for spec buildings as there's a shortage of existing buildings in the companies to locate or relocate to the Wichita Metro. So in 2019, Bel Aire Council approved a speculative building policy, which has been successful in bringing 4 new buildings to town. WHAM built 2 buildings and utilized this policy, and that's on 45th Street, just east of the railroad tracks. Webb Industrial is also using this policy to build 2 spec buildings along Webb Road. So dirt work for these started last week. Bel Aire's policy was modeled off a similar policy adopted by the city of Wichita. The current policy expired in 2019, and staff recommends the policy be renewed with no ending date. Are there any questions from our city manager?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Smith?
Well, I'm certainly excited to see this policy, up for renewal. It's clear to me that it's been a tremendous success, and so it's a fantastic thing, in my opinion. It was probably a mistake to put an expiration date on the first time, and so fixing that now makes a lot of sense to me.
Great.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Welch?
I'll make a motion to approve the revised speculative building policy for the city of Bel Aire and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Welch and a second by Mr. Smith. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. So, we have consideration of holding executive session. I understand that staff is requesting an executive session for 30 minutes. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Schroeder, or Dr. Schroeder?
I'll motion to go into executive session for the sole purpose of discussing the subject of attorney-client consultation regarding contractual obligations pursuant to the KSA 75-4319, exception for attorney-client privilege. Invite the city manager and the city attorney. The meeting will be for a period of 30 minutes and the open meeting will resume in city council chambers at 7:52 p.m.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Schroeder and a second by Mr. Elsoff. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. We're in executive session. Executive session, no binding action was taken, and we'll move on to the next agenda item on the item C. So the CCUA board is contemplating the need to upgrade and expand the current sewer treatment plant. Bel Aire is half owner of the CCUA sewer treatment plant and therefore requires approval by the Bel Aire City Council to issue debt. The debt will be held by CCUA, but Bel Aire will be responsible for half the debt service of roughly $7 million.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Smith.
So I mentioned in my report that CCUA last month, we spent quite a bit of time discussing the letter that our city manager had sent. A response to that letter hasn't been issued because the TAC's going to meet to discuss those concerns. I'm going to recommend that we table this until the CCUA has formally responded to the letter that the city manager sent to the CCUA. So I'm going to make a motion to table a resolution approving the sale of Chisholm Creek Utility Authority Refunding and Improvement Revenue Bond Series 2021 until such time as the CCUA has responded to the concerns from the city manager.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Smith and a second by Dr. Schroeder. And just to clarify, this is to table it until the CCUA responds to Mr. Lasher's letter. Right? Okay, very good. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. I have no need for an additional executive session. Does anyone else need an executive session of any sort? Hearing none, I'll move on to final item. Item 13, discussion of future issues. So our regular scheduled workshop is August 10th at 6:30. Here are the items for a workshop. Solar panel, City Hall and Rec Center. I think that Dr. Schroeder is working on a proposal there. Streets, Go Bond and future street projects. The ARPA funds, projects and budget impact. The 2022 budget revised from July workshop. And we do have to approve that at the next city council meeting. Is that correct? Okay, very good. City codes, RV and trailer parking, and ballot initiatives concerning mayor's term and governing body term limits. And that one, if we're going to do, need to be approved at our next city council meeting because the deadline for those ballot initiatives is September 1st. Any other issues we need to discuss? And we are going to try to keep this to 2 hours. I don't know if we can do that, but that's the goal. Okay,
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Smith.
I think we do have 5 Tuesdays in August, and that's a pretty lengthy agenda. I don't know if we want to decide to split the agenda into 2 workshops now or to make that decision after we don't get through all of the items next week. But I thought I'd just throw that out there.
You are right. There are 5 Tuesdays. The 5th one is the 31st. So it is a possibility. The 24th would also be a possibility, but I will not be available the 24th. I know that. Let's see what I have on the 31st. I won't be available the 31st either. I could do it remote, but I can't do it live. Okay?
Mr.
In
Mayor,
person.
I would say we should try and we'll probably fail. But I think we should try. I have high hopes we'll get it done in one night.
Mr. Mayor, I too feel that we may not get through all that, so I'd like to prioritize certain items.
Yes.
Solar panels, I think may be a good idea, and I don't know how long Joel wants to talk about it, but I think that's streets and ARPA funds should come before we get too excited about that.
Okay. Well, I think the ones we have to address are the budget and the ballot initiative, if we have any hopes of getting those approved or moving forward. And the others, I'm okay with not getting into them or whatever, but I think if we're going to do the priority, we need to make sure those are our first and second items.
So we need to talk about streets so we can decide on the bonding.
Okay, that's fine. That can be a third item then. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'm wondering how the ARPA and streets items will affect the budget discussion. It feels like they're all related, or potentially could all impact the budget. And so maybe we do need to get it all in.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the ARPA funds is you can't use it for streets, okay? Unfortunately. The one exception is, I think there's an exception of what WAMPO has, but I don't know why that is, but it is, they have their funds. But anyway,
The rules keep changing on that because now we
Right.
hear that they want us to use ARPA funds to pay for people to get COVID shots. So you haven't heard that?
no, I hadn't
was
heard that
one
one.
of Biden's comments a week ago, I believe.
Okay. All right.
And let me visit with Ted, because we've actually, the adoption of the budget has moved from October to September. Or no, September to October. So let me see if we would have another additional time for the budget in September. Just let me, while we're putting this together, I understand what it is you guys are talking about. So let me get with him and say, okay, what do we have to discuss and get decided this time? And if it is all budget stuff, then we'll prioritize and then think about maybe another meeting or something.
Okay. I think that's a good plan because I don't think we're going to be able to figure it all out here.
Yeah.
There's too many moving parts. So, okay, thank you. Appreciate that. And I hope nobody has any other issues that they wanted to put on here, but I don't want to cut any discussion off. Hearing none, I'll move on to item 14.
Mr. Mayor,
Dr. Schroeder.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Schroeder and a second by Mr. Elsoff. Does anybody want to discuss this? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned. See everybody next week at 6:30. So we got this one done in just